Welcome back to Fin24. We are now chatting to Professor Keith Engel, the CEO of SAIT. Keith, let's get right into it. Was this what you were expecting, and is it good or bad?
Yeah, well, I would say it was definitely what I was expecting, and sadly it was what I was expecting. I mean, clearly we knew a tax increase was coming. He warned us back a few months ago with the medium-term budget policy statement. But this has been in the cards really since 2008. He even warned us back then. He said, if we don't get some growth, eventually I'm going to have to raise taxes. And I think he had some stimulus measures back then, which none of them worked. So now here we are, and the money is coming exactly where I thought it would come. If you take a look at it, he talks very brave, but at the end of the day, he takes a move that is the minimalistic move. And he's focused on the individual tax. That's where we knew he would hit. At the end of the day, that's the easiest place to get the money, which puts us right back to where the nationalists were back in '94. If you remember, Trevor Manuel, he spent 10 years trying to undo high taxation of individuals.
Yeah.
That's what we were doing. Now we're going right back to the nationalist government. We're going to keep hitting the same source. We're going to keep hitting salaried workers and employees, and the higher you up, we're just going to hit you. So we've hit you on the top, and we've cut that inflation margin bracket, and that's quite a bit.
But do you think that there's any ceiling? Do you think we are reaching the ceiling of personal taxation?
Well, I hope so. But the real question is, are we? Because what happens is if you're in a bad trajectory, you're going to keep coming back to the same source. And part of the problem here is the same problem that's going on in Africa. They can't extend the tax base to the informal sector. They can't grow the economy. So you just keep hitting the obvious suspects. And so, for instance, in Zimbabwe, the rate is 50%.
Yeah.
So at some point, it could go to 50, or you keep not adjusting for inflation. And that has a bigger effect than actually the top rate.
Something that has to be asked. Why do you think there was no increase in the VAT?
I think that all of the things that President Zuma has been doing, the campaign that's been waged against Prof and Gordon, took an effect on this budget. If you listen to that speech, he's quite defensive. And he keeps saying that I'm going after the rich and I'm trying to have an empowerment agenda. And you can see he feels very threatened by the ANC elite. So there was no way he was going to take on the unions on VAT. Already that would be a scary thing. Had he done and raised charges on VAT, that could have been the argument that Zuma used to throw him out. So I think he was not playing.
So politics played a huge role in budget 2017?
Yes, absolutely. You can see it in his tone.
With the low growth, for how much longer can we keep the rating agencies at bay?
Well, that's really the question, because I don't see any growth in this budget. There is no growth in this budget. Oh, we've got a little money here, we got a little money there, we're distributing some. I even heard it in his tone. He didn't even promise you any growth. Yeah. So there's simply no growth in this environment. And so the problem is, if we don't get that growth, and remember, you still got population coming in, the big population dividend will quickly become a population curse. So this lack of growth is what the rating agencies have been talking about. I think right now the rating agencies remain kind to Prof. They like him, and they know that the moment they turn on him, he's out. So they're actually protecting our democracy. But at some point, the patience will run out. And I can't see this going on for another year or two.
What would you have liked to see in this budget?
What I would have liked to have seen is some selective cuts. Selective cuts in the public wages, selective cuts in the public departments. The problem is these governments, the more we have government, the more it regulates, the more it kills growth. What you see here again is that government wants to micromanage the economy to get the growth back. You can even see it in his speech. He keeps going back to the old socialistic formulas, and that's what he's trapped in. He wants government to save the day, and government can't. The best thing that the government can do is get out of our business and let do what we have to do. And I would have liked to see some of that in his budget, but you have no hint of that whatsoever.
Are you happy with where the expenditure is taking place?
Well, I don't think anybody has been happy with that expenditure taking place for a long time. For a long time, our expenditure has been extremely wasteful, and we've lost our money, not just in hardcore corruption, because he likes to point to that in the budget. What we have is bloated public wage, and we have a massive patronage problem. So the money isn't going to stimulate. Now, the problem is, where do you want to really put the money? You want to put it in infrastructure, like the NDP was promising. The problem is that's where the bulk of the corruption is. And as long as the crowd remains in power that remains, that is where they have a good time. So Gordon is actually trapped. Where he would want to put all of that growth was where he sees the massive corruption. So in a sense, he's also fighting back by not pushing some of those growth initiatives, and that remains a problem. But the deal, and he actually talks about in that budget as well, that what he's saying is we have to come to a new consensus. He can't do it alone. He needs the other departments to help him. But the other departments don't have a growth strategy. They have an over-regulation strategy, which is stifling growth. That's why what I would have done is I would have cut back the public wage, and I would have said we're going to shrink the size of government, because the more government is involved, the more it's killing growth.
We seem to be in a low growth rut.
Yes.
And that's a space that we can't afford to find ourselves in for much longer.
Yes, that's right. And I think you see he's hoping, he's grasping for straws. So what you see in there is he's talking about maybe the economy, the green sheets in the global economy will start going off. Something else will save us, and maybe that will get us going. The commodity cycle isn't so bad. The currency situation isn't so bad. Maybe there's something out there will save us, but there's nothing here that's going to save us. Not with that budget, and nothing that President Zuma has said would defy that either.
Thank you so much, Keith. This has been very, very insightful, and we'll definitely keep our eye on what will save the day.
Thank you.